Hey everyone, welcome back to Window Seat Studies. I hope you all are doing well. So, we were discussing about cellular signaling previously, and from today onwards, we are going to start a new series about immunology. So, as promised, we are going to start immunology series where we will be discussing about our immune system, the cells of our immune system, the organs. So basically, we are going to discuss about how host beautifully with these sophisticated means, it develops a mechanism so that it is able to protect itself against the pathogens, against the harmful effects of pathogens, right? So we are going to discuss about the immune system, the immunity, the different types of immunity that we possess in this immunology series. So before I start discussing about the particular lecture, I would like to give you an overview about the series. What are we going to discuss in this series? So we are starting immunology series. Okay, so before discussing the things, I would like to give you an overview because it will be more convenient to you all, and that will not create any confusion. So first of all, we are going to discuss about the basics. So today's lecture will be the introductory lecture to our immune system. So first of all, we'll have an introductory lecture. So where we'll be discussing about what exactly our immune system does. So what is the job of our immune system? What are the different types of immune systems that we possess? And the certain characteristics that our immune system have due to which it is able to protect the host. Okay, so we will be discussing that in today's lecture. So today's lecture is introductory lecture. Then we will be discussing the cells of immune system, because the cells are the warriors of our immune system that are going to take part in this war, right? And they are going to protect the host against the pathogens. So we will be having a few lectures about cells of immune systems. Okay. So once we discuss about cells of immune system, we'll also discuss about the organs of immune systems. Okay, the organs such as spleen, bone marrow, thymus, malt, the lymphatic systems. So the organs that take part in our immunity, that is what we will be discussing in these lectures. So we'll discuss about organs of immune system. Once we discussed about cells and organs of immune system, we'll discuss about the receptors, okay, that are present over the cells of immune system. The receptors that are present over the natural killer cells, the B cells, T cells, or neutrophils, macrophages. So those cells, these are the cells of immune system, okay. And all the cells present, there are present some receptors. And we have been discussing this in cell signaling series from the start to the end, that receptors are very crucial because they are the ones which are going to sense the extracellular environment with the help of some signal molecules, and they are going to do their intracellular signaling part so that cell is able to respond accordingly. Okay, and that is why the learning the receptors that are present on the immune system cells and how the signaling goes on, the downstream signaling that happens upon the activation of those receptors, that is really important. So we will learn about receptors of immune systems, means the receptors that are present over the cells, and the signaling part. Okay, so like in last class, we learned about NF-kappa B signaling, right? So in this NF-kappa B signaling, we only learned about the signaling part, like what is NF-kappa B and what is TNF-alpha, interleukin 1. We did not discuss about those. So we'll be discussing about cytokines, chemokines, the inflammatory factors, and what will be the downstream effects. So the in the signaling series, we only focused upon the signaling part, means some extracellular signal comes, it activates the receptor, and now this activated receptor is going to do some downstream job, right? We only discussed about that. But in the immunology series, we will be discussing about the signaling pathways that are important in our immune system, that helps to elicit or evoke the immune responses. So we will not be just discussing about the signaling part, but we'll be focusing about the extracellular signals that are arriving at the cells, as well as what type of extracellular signal is going to generate the response of the cell. So cell will have different responses, such as it is going to produce inflammatory factors, it is going to produce, in the last class in the NF kappa B series, we learned that it is going to produce nitric oxide, so that it is toxic to bacterial cell, right? So cell is going to have some responses, and those responses are designed in a way so that it is going to kill the pathogen, or it is going to protect against the harmful effects of pathogens. So that will also be the point of focus. We will be discussing about how, using those signaling pathways, the cells, they are able to to construct the defense mechanisms against the pathogen. So that will be the point of focus in those lectures, in those particular lectures. So we will discuss about those. And then, as I told you, that there are different immune systems in our body. The immune system that we are born with, called innate immunity, and the immune system that we develop over time, the adaptive immunity. So we will discuss about the types of immune system in detail. Today I'll be just introducing those types, and we will talk about them in detail, the features that they have, the way they function, right? So we will talk about innate immunity and adaptive immunity. So that both of those, innate immunity and adaptive immunity, they have the cellular part as well as humoral part. Okay, so for example, the complement system, the natural killer cells that are part of innate immunity. So natural killer cells are the cellular immunity, the cellular innate immunity that we possess, and then complement system is the humoral innate immunity that we possess. So we will be discussing about the innate immunity, the cellular part and humoral part. In the same way, adaptive immunity also has cellular part and humoral part. So we will be discussing about that. So we will be discussing about B cells, T cells, right? So we will be discussing about complement system in detail, and it is going to take some time to discuss complement system because we are going to cover that in great details. Then we will also discuss about B cells, okay, and T cells. Those lectures will be there will be 5 to 6 lectures about B cells and T cells, because in those series, like about B cells and T cells, we will be learning about the firstly the cells, how they are, they are differentiated from nice cell to more maturated form. So how the antigen are being presented to those cells. So we will also discuss about MHC complex. Okay, if you don't know about that, just don't fret. We will be discussing that in a while in the series. So we will discuss about how the maturation happens, how the activation of those cells occurs, and how the cells, they are able to have the memory. So we will also talk about the memory generation of B cells and T cells, right? So we will discuss about that. And once we are done discussing all this part, then we will discuss about immunology and cancer. Okay, so in the cancer biology series, I did not discuss about the evasion of the immune system by the tumor cells, because I thought it will be better to discuss it here, because here I will be covering the basics of immune system as well. So it will be, you will be able to understand this concept better. So what happens is that our immune system, it just not just works against the pathogens, the harmful effects of pathogens, but it also works against the harmful effects that our own body can have. So let's say that a cell undergoes some mutation, it undergoes some DNA damage, and now it is converted into tumor cell. Means it has the ability to proliferate uncontrollably, right? So this is going to have some harmful effects in our body, and that is why the job of immune system is to eradicate such cells. So not just it eradicates pathogen, but it also takes care of the cells, the cells which are going to create a possibility of having fatality over the other cells. For example, the tumor cells, due to their uncontrollable growth, they are really dangerous for our bodies. So now immune system says, okay, I'll take care of them. So immune system also has this job. So it is going to take care of those tumor cells. But again, tumor cells, they are also very, they are very wise. So what do? They have certain mechanism to evade those immune system responses. So like for so like, imagine a car, right? So what is the job of car? It is to, to take you from one place to other place. So for taking you from one place to other place, it has accelerator, right? But along with accelerator, it also has brakes because you have to stop at certain point, right? So you are not going to travel all the way across the world without taking a break. So for being able to go from one place to other place, you need both the accelerator as well as the brakes. In the same way, in the immune system, you will have some accelerators, means the factors that are going to evoke the immune responses, but as well as you need the brakes because you don't need the immune responses to be uncontrollable, right? You need to have some regulation over those immune responses. So the tumor cells, they are really wise in the way that they use those breaks for their own advantage. So what do tumor cells do? So the brakes, they are activated like when the body is functioning normally, the brakes will be activated when there is no need of immune response, or let's say the pathogen enters inside the body and it is going to have some harmful effects. So we triggered, so we elicited the immune responses. So those immune responses kill the pathogen. So now the immune responses needs to be stopped. So now the brakes will be applied, right? So what does tumor cells do? They use those brakes to their advantage. Means they will activate those brakes on the immune cells so that the immune cells, they are not able to recognize the tumor cells, and they'll find them normal. In reality, they are not normal. They are abnormal and they are harmful. But the tumor cells, they disguise themselves in such a way that immune system is not able to recognize them, or immune system is being stopped, thinking that they are not harmful, thinking that they are their self cells. Okay, so this is what we are going to discuss in the immunology in cancer series, that how beautifully the war goes on between the tumor cells and our immune system. Right, so we'll discuss about immunotherapies as well. So what is immunotherapy? So we train our immune system. So immune system already has the capability of differentiating between a normal cell and abnormal cell, and it kills abnormal cell. But I told you the tumor cell, it disguises itself that it is a normal cell. It pretends like it's a normal cell, but in reality it's abnormal. So we are going to train immune system in the immunotherapies using the immunotherapeutic treatments. We train our immune system to be able to distinguish this disguise of the tumor cells, right? So it's like over the time when you grow, you can differentiate between the fake and real things, right? You can differentiate between fake vegetables and real vegetables. When you were a kid, you couldn't, right? The plastic apple used to feel the real apple, but over the time you get to know that what is the real apple and what is a fake apple, right? In the same way, we are going to train our immune system in the immunotherapeutic treatments, that how to evoke the immune responses against the tumor cells. So we will be discussing immunotherapies as well in this series, the for how the immunotherapeutic treatments that they are used for the treatment of the cancer, for avoiding the tumor progression. So we'll be discussing that. And lastly, we will be discussing about host pathogen interaction. Okay, so how our body, how the host system interacts differently if the pathogen is different. So, for example, if it's a bacteria, okay, so we will be learning about host and bacteria interaction. That will be different. Host viral interaction will be different. Host fungal interaction will be different. And if host interacts with parasite, the responses are going to be different. Okay, so we will be discussing about host pathogen interaction in the series in detail. So these are the different topics that I'm going to cover in this immunology series. So this series is going to be a long series, and we will be discussing all of them in detail so that everything is clear to you all. So once if you want to learn more about immunology, if you want to learn more about immune system, if I am not able to satiate your hunger, then you can read Kubi Immunology. It's a really nice book because once the series is over, you will have a kind of basic knowledge about what is immunology, and then it will be really easier to read Kubi Immunology. I really recommend that book. Go and read the book Owen by Owen, the Kubi Immunology. It's called Kubi Immunology. Okay, so it's a really nice book. I surely recommend that to you all. So once this series is over, we'll move on to the next series. Okay, so this is what we are going to learn in this series. So today's lecture is an introductory lecture. We will be talking about basics of our immune system. Okay, so let's get started with the lecture. So before talking about the cells, the organs that are part of immune system, first and very most important thing is to know about immunity, right? We did not discuss about immunity yet, right? You know about what is immunity, but I would like to take you from the basics. So, what is immunity? What does immunity mean? So, immunity is the protection, which is, the sophisticated mechanism of protection, which is developed by a host so that it is able to protect itself against the harmful effects of the exposure of pathogen. So, what is immunity? Immunity is a sophisticated mechanism of protection which is developed by a host, okay, the host, the individual, such as humans, such as mice, okay. So the protection, it is a protection against harmful effects of exposure of pathogen. Right, so our body protects itself against the exposure, against whatever harmful effects that pathogen is going to have on it. So that particular mechanism, that world formation that our body has created, is known as immunity. So there are two types of immunity, the two types of immune systems that are present in our body, the one which we possess by birth and the one which develops over the time. So this is also a system, any type of organ system that we have. For example, the digestive system. So what is the job of digestive system? So, well, what is digestive system first? So, digestive system comprises of multiple organs that are going to take part in the digestion of food. So, whatever food that we consume, that we chew, that is going to break down in the smaller components, and those will be converted into soluble forms, and those soluble forms will be absorbed by our blood, so that the nutrients availability is ensured in our body, right? So the job of digestive system is to digest, is to break down into the soluble forms the food that we are consuming, right? So that's the job of digestive system. So it is a system, we are calling it a system because it is made up of multiple organs, the organs which are made up of different types of tissues, different types of cells, right? In the same way, immunity, immune system, we are also calling it a system because it is going to have the different organs. They are working in unison, they are working in a coordination so that a whole protective mechanism is formed in in the body of an individual, right? So let's take an example of a kingdom. So let's say there's an empire, okay, empire or a kingdom, and this is being ruled by an emperor. So emperor rules an empire. So for ruling an empire in a nice way, it needs some regulation. It needs some laws. It needs some tax collection, right? But alongside that, it also needs defense so that the territory will be defended against its enemies. So it needs a defense system, means it is going to have it is going to have cavalry, it is going to have its military, it is going to have its own navy, air force. So for protecting their empire, they are going to have the military, they are going to have the soldiers, the warriors that are going to protect their territory. In the same way, we are also going to have the warriors, the cells of our immune system, the organs, which all of them they are working in coordination to protect our body. In the way the different bodies of our government work to protect the India, to protect the country. In the same way, the organs, different organs, the different factors, different cells, they are going to work in coordination to be able to have, to be able to eradicate the harmful effects of pathogen. So that is immunity, and that is immune system. And that is why there are two types of immune system that our body possess. Okay, the first one is innate immunity. Okay, so this type of immunity is the one which that we possess by birth, and other immunity that we develop over the time is known as adaptive immunity. Okay, so we are blessed with immunity since birth. The one which are we blessed with by birth is known as innate immunity, while the one which we develop over the time due to the exposure to certain factors, to exposure to pathogens, exposure to infections, that type of immunity which develops over time is known as adaptive immunity. Okay, for example, let's say when you are born, you have some innate behaviors and some behaviors that you learn over the time. So when you're born, you do the infant does not need to learn uh, being hungry or getting hungry, right? So they are blessed with hunger since they are born. But the skill of throwing a tantrum so that we are able to convince our parents, that are learned over the time. So a toddler learns how to throw a tantrum, a teenager learns how to convince their parents for a certain thing, right? So that is an adaptive behavior, that is an adaptive thing that is developed over the time due to the experiences that are being exposed to the infant, to the toddler, to the teenager. But some things that are existing, that are there, that exist since birth, that we possess by birth, since our birth. For example, we get hungry from the birth. So it doesn't matter when it's whether it's infant, a newborn, whether it's a toddler or teenager. All of us, we have the ability of getting hungry, right? So that this is the thing that we possess by birth, and that is why it is called innate thing, right? So it is something which we possess since the day we are born. In the same way, the immunity that we possess since the day we are born is the innate immunity, right? So for example, we have skin. Okay, so this is a barrier. So this is protecting ourselves against the pathogens. So it is, inhibiting the entry of pathogen in our body. So this is what we possess from the birth. So this is also part of innate immunity, right? So we have skin since our birth, right? But there are certain factors that we learn over the time. For example, you are, when you were a kid, you learned, you got chicken pox, and over the time you learned, your body developed the immunity against the chicken pox. And once you had chicken pox, you are not going to get infected, you're not going to have the symptoms of chicken pox, you're not going to feel ill due to the chicken pox infection. Over the time, you won't even acknowledge that you're getting infected by chickenpox, because your body has developed a memory, it has learned about the chickenpox pathogen, and it is going to kill that, eradicate that pathogen even before it can cause some harmful effects. So in that way, some things that are from birth and some things are adaptive. So the immunity that we have since birth is known as innate immunity, and the one which we develop over that time is known as adaptive immunity. Okay, so the innate immunity that we possess, it is by birth, so it is non-specific. Means it does not matter which type of pathogen it is going to be there. It will work in the same way. So the response that the immune system, the innate immune components will have, it will be same for all of the pathogen, no matter. For example, as I said, our skin, it is a part of innate immunity, right? So no matter whether it's bacteria, it's virus, it's a parasite, it's a Taenia solium, whatever it is going, even if it's dust or pollen, it is going to avoid, it is going to inhibit the entry of all of those different harmful pathogen in our body. So the response that this immune system, that innate immune system has, is non-specific. It is going to work same for all of the pathogen. On the contrary, the adaptive immunity is specific. Okay, so it is going to identify, okay, so this pathogen is a bacteria, this pathogen is a virus, and according to that identification, it is going to have some responses, because you need to react specifically to the conditions. So, for example, if I'm talking to you and if I'm provoking to you, so you are going to have some response according to what I'm talking to you, right? So if I'm greeting you, so the response we will have is, okay, I need to greet her back. If I'm praising you, the response you are going to give is the happy response. If I'm scolding you, the response you are going to give is to get angry or to get sad. So whatever response you are going to give, that should be specific according to what I am telling you, according to what I am, the way I'm treating you. In the same way, to the exposure of pathogens, according to the pathogen, the immunity, well, we need to have a type of immunity which is going to react accordingly, okay, which is going to be specific, means it is going to identify the different type of pathogen, and it is going to react on differently depending upon the pathogen. Okay, so if the pathogen is different, it is going to react differently. So we need that type of immunity in our body. So that type of immune system is known as adaptive immune system, because it is very specific. Okay, so the innate immunity is the responses that are given by innate immunity, they are very quick. Okay, so it is kind of the first, fire alarm, because, okay, so when there's a fire in your house, you need to react quickly. So first you will switch on the, the due to smoke and whatever, the fire alarm starts, and then the sprinkler system starts, right? So whatever response is there, the first quick response is given by innate immunity, because first of all, you need to avoid the entry in your body, the pathogen entry in your body. The very first thing our body do is to avoid the pathogen entry at any cost. But somehow, if the pathogen enters in our body, the innate system is going to work, innate immunity is going to work, but the response, the type of response that innate immunity has, is a quick response. On the contrary, the response that adaptive immunity has is a slow response. So imagine innate immunity like a kid, like a toddler, and adaptive immunity like a teenager. So toddler, no matter which type of person or an object it sees, it is going to react in some certain way. Let's say it is going to react in having amuse. Okay, so the toddler is going to amuse no matter which type of object you show it. So it is non-specific, right? On the contrary, the way the teenager is going to behave, it will be very specific. In the same way, a toddler is going to have a quick response if it sees a person, if it sees a flying aeroplane, right? So it is going to respond quickly. But a teenager who has seen those things over the due course of time, it is going to have a slow response. But the innate system, even though it has quick response, the procedure that innate system follows, the innate immunity follows, that is very slow. So it is slow in the process for killing pathogen or for identifying any antigen. On the contrary, even though this response by the adaptive system is slow, but it quickly kills the pathogens. So the whole procedure, whole repertoire which is followed by the adaptive immunity, it is very quick. So it has slow response to the pathogen entry, but it will react fastly for killing pathogen. Okay, so those are the differences between innate immunity and the adaptive immunity. We'll be discussing about them in detail in separate lectures, but I wanted to introduce you the two different types of system that we possess. So the immune system so the innate immunity is further, classified into its cellular components and humoral components. Again, the different line of defenses that our immune system has, but I won't be discussing that here. And I will also like to discuss about the characteristics or the features that our immune system has. So our immune system possesses different types of characteristics, which makes it very sophisticated machine to kill the pathogens, to eradicate the harmful effects of pathogens. So the features that are the properties of our immune system are: first is specificity. Okay. So as I already discussed about specificity, that it is the ability to be able to differentiate between the closely related molecules. So the specificity is ability of the host or the ability of host immune system to distinguish between closely related molecules or closely related pathogens or whatever type of antigens the immune system is reacting with. Okay, so the specificity is divided into again two types. There are two types of specificity. One, the broad range, and other is the narrow range specificity. So there could be the broad range specificity and narrow range specificity. Okay, so let me discuss this in detail. What is broad range specificity and what is narrow range specificity? So the broad range specificity is something like the ability to differentiate between different molecules is means the immune system is going to recognize a broad spectrum of different molecules, but they are categorized in the same group. So let me explain this by an example. So let's assume that the immune cell has a receptor, okay, has certain receptors. So let's say that this is B cell receptor, okay. So it could be a T cell receptor or the NK cell receptor, whatever cell it is. So the receptors that are present on the immune cells, they are going to interact with the antigens, right? But they can react with a wide variety of antigens, and that type of specificity is known as broad range specificity. Means the ability to recognize a wide spectrum of molecules, but they all they are all grouped under the same category. For examples, the glycoproteins or the sugar molecules that are present over the bacterial cells, they can be identified by those receptors, or the viral antigens that are present on the viral capsid, they could be identified by those receptors. So let's say that this particular receptor is designed, it is present on immune cell, and it is designed in a way that it can identify the proteins that are present on the bacterial cell. Okay, so it can identify the proteins that are present on the bacterial cell wall, but it cannot identify the proteins that are present on viral cell, on a virus or on some different parasite or on the fungus, right? So it can only identify bacterial proteins. But again, bacterial proteins are, there exists a wide spectrum of bacterial proteins. So that type of specificity is known as broad range specificity. Means a large spectrum of there's the something, some receptor or our immune system is able to recognize a broad variety of the molecules that are categorized in the same group. On the contrary, the narrow range specificity is very different. For example, the antibodies, they possess the narrow range specificity. Means the antibodies, they are going to only, they are recognizing the antigen. So we will discuss this in detail. Okay. So antibodies are the molecules that are going to go bind to the antigens. Well, antigens are the proteins that are expressed by the pathogens or by non-self cells, okay, the cells which are not a part of our body. Antigens could be self antigens as well, but I'm talking about non-self antigens. Antigens which are going to elicit or evoke the immune response are known as the immunogens. Okay, so I'm talking about immunogens specifically, means that are recognized by our immune system, and our immune system is going to respond to them. So immune response will be activated. So immune response will be evoked. I'm talking about those. So immunogens that are being recognized by antibodies. So antibodies have narrow range specificity. Even if you change small part of this protein of the antigen, the antibody will not be able to recognize it. So this type of specificity is known as narrow range specificity. So we will be discussing about this narrow range specificity when we'll discuss about antibody, antibody structure, how antibody is able to recognize the antigens. Okay, so when we will discuss about antibody antigen interactions, I'll tell you about this narrow range specificity again. So depending upon the spectrum of the molecules that our immune system is able to identify or distinguish, the type of specificity is categorized into two types: the broad range specificity and the narrow range specificity. Okay, so I hope this part is clear to you all. The other feature that our immune system has is diversity. So diversity is the ability of our immune system to be able to recognize diverse amount of molecules. Okay, I already discussed that it can identify virus, it can identify bacteria, whether it's fungus, whether it's parasite. So our immune system is able to tackle, or it is able to recognize multiple different types of pathogens, different types of molecules that are present on those pathogens, the different types of proteins, lipids that are present on the pathogen. That ability is known as diversity. Diversity is the ability of host defense or host immune system to recognize diverse molecules. Okay, so the diversity is also of different types. First is physical diversity. Physical diversity means that the size of the molecules or size of the pathogens that is being recognized by our immune system, it varies. It literally goes from a few micrometers. Okay, it literally goes from few micrometers to to few meters, like for to 8 meters. The tinea solium, you might have heard about this parasite. It's almost zero point 0.2 meter to 8 meter long. Okay, so we have a really diverse physical. So we the immune system, the specifically human immune system has a physical diversity, means it is able to recognize the bacteria, the small viruses, the microscopic bacteria, to the large parasites such as fungus, such as Taenia solium. So the diversity of being able to recognize small sized bacteria, viruses to large sized parasite is known as physical diversity. So the diversity is physical because we are literally differentiating between the sizes. So this ability is known as physical diversity. The other type of diversity that immune system possesses is the biochemical diversity. Means being able to differentiate or being able to recognize diverse type of biomolecules, such as it just not, immune system is not designed against the proteins that are being expressed by the pathogen, but it can also recognize lipids. Okay, it can also recognize sugars. Okay, so it is able to recognize different types of different wide variety of diverse variety of the biomolecules that are being expressed by the pathogens. Not just proteins, it can also recognize lipids. It can also recognize the glycoproteins. It can also recognize sugars. So this is known as biochemical diversity. Means different types of diverse variety of biomolecules is being recognized by our immune system. So this is the other property that our immune system possesses. The very important and very nice property, which makes our immune system and which makes its job very easy, is memory. Okay, So this is not neurogenic memory, but it resembles with the neurogenic memory a lot. So the memory that our immune system possesses is the ability, the host ability, or the ability of host immune system to recall the previously experienced pathogen. Okay, so this is ability of immune system or ability of host to be able to recognize, okay, to be able to recognize the previously exposed pathogen or the previously exposed antigen. And once it not just remembers that, not just recalls it, but it can also it also recalls the defense that is useful against this pathogen. So it first of all it so memory is the ability to recall this pathogen. Okay, so so this is the type of bacteria that I have been exposed to before. So it remembers that the type of bacteria. It also remembers what type of defense could be useful against against this bacteria, and now it is able to defend against that bacteria. So this whole ability is known as memory, the ability of the host immune system to be able to recall the previously exposed pathogen, the previous exposure, and to defend, and the ability to defend itself, to defend the host upon next encounter. Okay, so this is known as memory, and this is a very important property that our immune system possesses, due to which we are, due to which we are able to tackle a lot of pathogen again, and it really does the job of immune system easy. So the last feature that our immune system has is called tolerance. Okay, and tolerance is very important. You must have had this question at some point of time. Okay, so immune system's job is to kill. It's, it is to kill. So how does this immune system decides, okay, this is pathogen, this is not a part of body, and this is my own cell. So how does say the immune system, the cells of immune system, they are able to distinguish that you have to kill the pathogen and you have not to kill the body, the cell of the body, the cell of the host. That type of feature is known as tolerance. Tolerance is the ability of our immune system to avoid mounting the response against the host cell. Means it does not respond against the host cell. Means it is able to differentiate between the self cell and the non-self cell. That ability is known as tolerance. Means it is only going to kill the pathogen and not the cell of the body, cell of the host. That is known as tolerance. So it's like the humans have eyes so that they can differentiate between their own kin and the others, right? But cells doesn't have eyes. So what does cells have? Cells have different types of receptors. So that enables them to be able to differentiate between the self cell and the non-self. So the tolerance is ability of immune system. Okay, so it is the ability of immune system to avoid mounting any response, to avoid response, mounting response against host own cell and tissue. So this is known as tolerance because it is tolerating, the immune system is tolerating the host own cells. So the host immune system, the host is tolerating that it is not going to fire the immune response against its own cell. So it is able to distinguish between self and non-self. Okay, so that is a very important property that makes our immune system to only eradicate pathogen and not the cells of the host. So when when something goes wrong in this system, okay, so multiple times the software malfunctions, right? The machines they also malfunction. In the same way, sometimes the immune system can also malfunction. So when the something goes wrong in our immune system, and this defect in our immune system it this defect causes the immune system to react to respond against the host own cell, against the self cells. That diseases are known as autoimmune diseases. So this is known as autoimmunity, where the host its own the host's immune system, its own immune system works against its own body. That type of diseases are really due to the genetic, due to genetic mutation. This could be hereditary. Okay, so this type of diseases are known as autoimmune diseases, and this is referred as autoimmunity. So with this, I'm done with the basics of the immune system, basics of the immunology. So we have had an overview about the host defenses. So in next lecture, we'll discuss about the immune system further. So till then, see you. Bye bye.